General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, May 8th, teasing a storm of emotion, betrayal, and shocking revelations this Thursday, May 8th, with tensions reaching a fever pitch as loyalties are tested, secrets unravel, and the Corinthos Davis family faces its darkest hour. Christina Corinthos Davis stormed through the stately corridors of General Hospital with a fierce determination in her eyes, her heart pounding with a volatile mix of anger and confusion. She had hurried to visit her mother, Alexis Davis, only to be met with an unexpected sight. Alexis seated in the private consultation room, flanked by none other than Rick Lansing and the enigmatic Ava Jerome. Their faces were grave, voices hushed, as if plotting something that would alter the course of everyone's lives. Christina's pulse quickened when she caught fragments of their hushed conversation, words like accident, cover-up, and next steps. An icy realization crept over her. Rick's recent car crash, which had nearly killed him weeks ago, was still fresh in everyone's minds. What did her mother have to do with it? And why was Ava Jerome, with her own tangled history in Port Charles, so deeply involved? Fueled by protective fury, Christina burst into the room. "What's going on here?" she demanded, voice sharp with accusation. Rick's eyes widened in surprise, and Ava inclined her head with cool restraint. Alexis, startled, rose and interposed herself. But Christina cut her off. "Don't bother, Mom. I heard enough." She pointed at Rick with trembling finger. "This has nothing to do with me, and yet you're dragging my family into this." Rick pressed a hand to his brow, weariness etched into his features. "Christina, it's not what you think." But Christina wasn't listening. Her mind raced with half-heard phrases. She glanced at Ava, whose calm gaze betrayed no remorse. "You and Rick are here to remind Mom what she needs to do next about the crush." Ava's lips twitched into a barely perceptible smile. Christina felt anger coil within her like a rattlesnake about to strike. Was her mother being blackmailed? Was Alexis under some awful threat? She shot Alexis a pleading look. "Mom, are you okay? Tell me what's going on." Alexis hesitated, torn between shielding her daughter and confessing the painful truth. Finally, her voice trembled. "Christina, the reality is, Ava and Rick have leverage over me. They have something that could ruin my career, my reputation. They're forcing me to help them with legal advice." The words hit Christina like a thunderclap. "Blackmail? You mean they're blackmailing you?" She glared at Rick. "Why would you do this? You nearly died." Rick's guilt flickered in his eyes. "Because the accident, the way it happened, it wasn't entirely an accident. Evidence suggests someone tampered with my brakes." Christina's breath caught. "Someone sabotaged her car?" Rick nodded. Ava's voice cut through the tension. "And we have the proof." She produced a small flash drive from her purse and held it out, glinting ominously under the fluorescent lights. Christina's heart sank as she realized what that meant. Video footage, damning evidence of who had done it. A sickening thought twisted in her stomach. "You have video?" Rick swallowed. "Yes, video of someone sabotaging my brakes." Christina felt color drain from her face. "What does this have to do with me?" Alexis whispered, "Because the person in that video is you, sweetheart." Time seemed to stop. Christina's mind reeled. "Me? No. That's impossible." Rick's voice was gentle but unyielding. "It wasn't intentional, Christina. You were upset, angry at me for something you thought I'd done. You followed me to the garage. You must have loosened the bolt without realizing what you were doing." Christina's world shattered. She pressed her palm to her mouth, eyes wide with horror. I didn't mean to." Tears streamed down her cheeks. Alexis rushed to embrace her daughter, but Christina pushed away, numb with guilt. "You have video proof? You're going to press charges?" Ava stepped forward. "We could, yes. But we're offering you a choice. Help us bring down a greater threat within the hospital, or face a jury for attempted murder." Christina shook her head, staggering. "I can't believe this. As Rick and Ava exchanged glances, Christina realized the full weight of her predicament. Not only had she endangered Rick's life, she now stood on the brink of criminal trial. A calculated legal battle loomed, one that risked exposing her to public disgrace, jail time, and the wrath of a jury primed to see her as a cold-blooded assailant. And all because of a split-second act of rage. Alone in the sterile hospital room, Christina felt the walls closing in. She would have to make a choice, and fast, between surrendering to Ava's demands or risking everything in court. Meanwhile, across town in the opulent halls of the Quartermaine mansion, Brooke Lynn Quartermaine sat across from her husband, Harrison Chase, the weight of long-buried guilt etched on her face. The silence between them was heavy, filled with questions unasked and fears unspoken. At last, Brooke Lynn found her voice. "Chase, there's something you need to know, something I've kept from you for years." Chase's brow furrowed in concern. "Whatever it is, you can tell me." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she confessed, "Before we met, I had a child. I gave him up, abandoned him really when I was scared, alone." Her voice cracked. "I was too ashamed. I buried the pain deep, convinced that was the end of it." Chase reached across the table and took her trembling hand. "Brooke Lynn, I can't imagine how hard this is." His expression softened. "You arriving at this confession, it takes courage." She looked into his eyes, searching for judgment, but found only compassion. "I thought that child was my curse, the reason I couldn't bear a child with you. It's why I kept it a secret." Chase's heart ached at her pain. He squeezed her hand. "Brooke Lynn, infertility is not a curse, and your child is not to blame. But I understand why you felt the need to hide it." He paused. "I want to know, where is our son? Is he alive? Does he even know I exist?" Brooke Lynn shook her head, tears spilling freely. "I don't know. I tried to find him, but the records are sealed. He could be anywhere, or he might not be alive." The specter of loss hung between them, a shared torment. Chase swallowed hard, resolve hardening in his eyes. "Then let's find him together. If he's alive, he deserves to know his mother and his father." Brooke Lynn's lips trembled. "I'm scared, Chase. What if he hates me? What if he blames me for abandoning him?" Chase stood and pulled her into an embrace. "Whatever happens, we face it together." Yet, in the back of his mind, a radical idea took form. Perhaps they could bring home a child immediately, adopt a baby, give him the loving family he deserves. Without a second thought, Chase gently released Brooke Lynn. "I'm going to do something." She looked up, startled. "What are you doing?" Before she could object, Chase had already picked up his phone. "I'm calling Dawn at the maternity ward. There's a newborn who needs a home, and we're going to meet him." Brooke Lynn reached for his arm. "Chase, wait. We need to discuss this," but her protests drowned beneath his conviction. He smiled, nearly radiant with hope. "Brooke Lynn, I love you. And I want our family to grow. Trust me." As Brooke Lynn watched Chase stride from the room, her heart beat with a tumult of hope and fear. Could she open herself to love again, in the form of this unknown infant? Or would her past come back to haunt them both? The answer would come sooner than she expected, as Chase's impulsive act set into motion events that would change their lives forever. Not far away, in the intensive care unit, Lulu Spencer knelt beside her son Rocco Falconeri's bed, his small chest rising and falling with each labored breath. Her emerald eyes, once fierce and resolute, brimmed with exhaustion and worry. For hours, she had slouched on a plastic chair, her loved ones coming and going, Michael Corinthos offering quiet support, Carly Spencer sending texts of encouragement, and Dante Falconeri pacing the room with desperate frustration. At last, Rocco's eyelids fluttered, and Lulu felt as though the sun had broken through storm clouds. Relief flooded her. Rocco was alive. She took his tiny hand, whispering, "Oh, my sweet boy, you're okay." Dante approached, placing a gentle hand on Lulu's shoulder. You should get some rest, Lulu. We've been here all night. Lulu glanced at him, gratitude and fatigue mingling in her gaze. I know, but I can't leave him. Not yet. Dante gave her a sympathetic nod. At least go home and freshen up. I'll stay here. Lulu pressed her lips together, conflicted. But Dante's tone grew firmer as he reminded her of their fraying patience. And Lulu, I think you should talk to Gio. Her eyes widened. Gio? Why? Dante's expression shifted, troubled by guilt. Last night, when Rocco collapsed, Gio hesitated before calling for help. I confronted him. He barely responded. Maybe there's more to him than we know. Lulu frowned, sadness flickering. Dante, Joe's been through so much. He's lost his father, he's vulnerable. Dante shook his head. Lois said something that stuck with me. She warned me I'd regret how I treated Gio if I only knew who he really was. Lulu looked at Dante in surprise. Who he really is? Dante swallowed. Gio is my son. Lulu's breath caught. Memories flooded back. The clandestine affair between Dante and Brooke Lynn so many years ago. The whispered uncertainties. The hidden paternity tests. She stared at Dante, stunned. Your son? My brother? Dante nodded, emotion thick in his voice. I found out recently. I've been avoiding it, but I can't anymore. Gio deserves to know the truth. Lulu's world tilted as she absorbed the revelation. Her beloved brother, Gio, was in fact Dante's child. The impact rippled through her, a betrayal of trust, a forbidden love that had remained buried. She took Dante's hand. We need to tell him, together. Dante exhaled, relief and trepidation mingling. Together. Meanwhile, at Deception Cosmetics, Brooke Lynn and Chase arrived to meet their potential new son, a chubby-cheeked infant swaddled in hospital blankets. Dawn, the nurse, smiled as she handed the baby to Chase. The room seemed to glow as he cradled the child, tears of unshed joy glistening in his eyes. Brooke Lynn watched, her heart aching with longing and guilt. He's beautiful, she whispered. The baby cooed, and Brooke Lynn felt a fierce maternal instinct awaken. But beneath it lay a gnawing fear. Could she ever love him as her own, knowing she had forsaken another? Chase brushed a strand of hair from her face. He's our chance to start anew. Brooke Lynn closed her eyes, steeling herself. For him, and for us. Yet, as they prepared to bring the infant home, unseen forces were already at work. Somewhere in Port Charles, a familiar face watched them depart, the formidable Lucy Coe, on assignment from her friend Brooke Lynn's old rival, Natalia Rogers-Ramirez. A scandal was brewing that threatened to engulf Deception Cosmetics and Enchantment alike, and Brooke Lynn's secret past was about to be weaponized in corporate warfare. As the hospital elevator doors closed on Chase and Brooke Lynn, Lucy pressed a phone button. Bring me everything you have on Brooke Lynn's history, she instructed. It's time to settle old scores. Across town once more, at the Floating Rib, Jack Brennan and Vaughn hashed out their latest scheme, eyes gleaming with conspiratorial excitement. Their target, Professor Henry Dalton, whose recent appointment at Port Charles University had ruffled more than a few feathers. Jocelyn Jacks sat across from them, shoulders tense, lips pressed in a thin line. You want me to do what? She asked, incredulous. Jack smirked. We need you to get close to Dalton. He's our way into his research. Something big is coming, Joss. Vaughn leaned in. We need evidence of his misconduct. Rumor is he's exploiting his students, using them for experiments that push ethical boundaries. Jocelyn's stomach churned. And you want me to seduce him? Vaughn nodded. Yes. Use what strengths you have. Get him alone. Make him trust you. Make him want you. Then it'll be easy to find his secrets. Jocelyn's face paled. I can't. That's... Jack cut her off. You can, and you will. We need proof. We need leverage. Jocelyn looked down at her clasped hands, heart pounding. She thought of the friendship she'd forged with Emma Scorpio Drake, the mentor-student bond she cherished. She thought of her own principles, shattered by heartbreak and power struggles within her family. And she thought of the stakes. Exposing Dalton's crimes might save innocent lives. Taking a shaky breath, she looked up. "All right, I'll do it." Jack's grin was triumphant. "Good girl." As Jocelyn rose to leave, resolve hardened in her heart. She would walk this perilous line, risking her dignity and her safety to bring Dalton to justice and perhaps, in the process, reclaim a piece of herself. As Thursday's dawn breaks over Port Charles, 4 families stand at the precipice of irrevocable change. Christina Corinthos Davis must decide whether to bow to blackmail or face a jury for attempted murder. Brooke Lynn and Harrison Chase brace for a new life with a stranger in their arms, unaware of looming corporate revenge. Lulu and Dante Falconeri prepare to shatter family illusions with the truth of Joe's paternity. And Jocelyn Jacks steels herself to infiltrate a professor's inner sanctum, risking her heart in a desperate bid for justice. General Hospital's corridors are rife with tension, each heartbeat echoing the peril that lies in wait. Loyalties will fracture, alliances will form in secrecy, and before the sun sets on May 8th, the very foundation of these characters' lives will be forever altered. Stay tuned, because in Port Charles, no secret remains buried, and no betrayal goes unpunished.